Hi everyone, I'm Matt from Physio with Matt, and today we're back for another video about injury prevention. Today we're tackling the shoulder, probably one of the biggest areas that both gym goers and normal athletes get injured in. The reason being that the shoulder gives us a lot of mobility, lots of movement, but at the sacrifice of stability, and that means it's very easy to get hurt. I see lots of people with upper body problems, both established athletes and people who have just started training. I would say about 25 to 30% of the injuries I see are muscle related, where people injure the rotator cuff muscles. The other side of injuries are subacromial impingement syndrome. It sounds like a complicated word, but it's really, really simple. Basically doing too much pushing, which causes inflammation at the front of the shoulder. The combination of these injuries can cause long-standing pain and problems. So a really important part of shoulder warm-up is warming up the thoracic spine, the bit between the neck and the lower back. That bit there, that's like the foundation of the shoulders. So having a good routine to start with that is essential. My favorite are in this position, in a lunge position, and we're going into a three-way exercise. First of all, the opening. Please note that your eyes are always following your thumb, your core is contracted, glutes are contracted, and then you're coming back. Let's have a look at a few more reps of that. Movement is perfect, stay nice and tight and get as much movement through the neck and thoracic spine as possible. That's really, really good. Perfect. Second part of this exercise is something I call bow and arrow. So it's a very similar movement, but you're moving your arms backwards. Again, eye is following the thumb. You're opening all the way, making an effort for the front arm to stay straight and then return against your body. Third part of the movement is what's called a half moon. So you're opening, keeping the core solid, rotating through again. I can't emphasize just how important having a mobile thoracic spine is to healthy shoulders and overhead mobility. Water polo players, rugby players, any athlete, any gym goer needs to have great thoracic spine mobility to stay injury free. 3 to 4 reps of these 3 exercises on either side before your workout. Feet parallel, half squat. Watch that ribs tucked in and sit into it a little bit more. Great. Look up, head in front of you, come into bar in front. Good. And we're just going to go for a press. No need to hold too tight and back down. Press over and come in front again. Feel relaxed, smooth, and you're just getting that overhead mobility of the shoulder. Great. So for part 2, you want your hands slightly further apart from each other. You're again nice and soft, and every time you're trying to touch the top of the bar towards the ceiling. Great. This is a really good way to open up the shoulder blades and the head of the shoulder, the head of the humerus. So it's a great way to start introducing a little bit of rotation through the shoulders and through the shoulder blades. With every rep, you'll find you can go that little bit further and get a little bit more movement. Be nice to relax. There's no need to hold tense whilst doing it, and always getting those positive movements through the shoulder. With this movement, we transition straight into the bar at the back, and we're just going to change, trying to keep the torso as straight as possible, and we're getting the bend mainly from the elbow and rotation through the back. This is going to help with internal and external rotation, which are really important factors in shoulder mobility. Again, the rule stays the same for every movement. Go slow and increase as you start to get more and more mobile. Never push into pain. Remember that you're still warming up and your body isn't at its max potential quite yet. So move slow, and again, it's 8 to 10 repetitions on each side. So the third part of this exercise are called shoulder dislocates. Basically what you want is to open your hand wide enough that you have enough space to start the movement. This will get closer and closer as you get better at the movement. What we're looking for again is to keep the ribs tucked in, standing nice and tall, and just starting to take the hands into overhead. In the beginning, you might not be able to go all the way. You'll need to improve and get more and more mobility before you can get as far as possible. Remember, never push too far with this movement. Although it seems like a huge range of motion, it's actually quite normal to be able to get from the very front to the very back, but be patient with yourself and make sure you can manage the mobility in a pain-free manner. Remember, we're warming up. So one thing you don't want to forget are the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are the greatest moving part of the whole shoulder complex. I'm going to give you a couple of ways to warm up your shoulder blades prior to any lifting or exercise-based workout. You want to go into either kneeling position or push-up position, depending on how advanced your level is. And the first part is called a push-up plus. So what we're looking for is a nice tight core, glutes are engaged, hands open to shoulder width, and then just pulling the shoulder blades towards each other and away. The important part of this exercise, where many people make a mistake, is to bend the elbows. You want the elbows to stay contracted throughout and just moving through the shoulder blades, opening and closing, opening and closing. Part 2 to this is opening up at the very top, shrugging your shoulder blades towards your ear and then moving down. Shoulder blades towards your ear and moving down. There's a really important concept called movement health, being able to move different parts of your body at your own control rather than them controlling you. An essential part of your shoulder injury prevention is stability exercises, working the muscles of the rotator cuff and other muscles which give the shoulder its intrinsic stability. So one of my favorite exercises is this one that you're about to see now. You want your back flat against a wall or any hard surface. The working side knee is bent towards you and the other leg is straight. You're going to take your elbow onto your knee, and if you could just grab the weight on your side and pop that in. Before we start the movement, I'm going to give some really important points. You want the elbow open to about 90 degrees, shoulder blade flat against the surface behind you, and then your rotation is going to come up towards 90 degrees, back down towards 45. It's really important to work normal speed on the way up and then nice and slow on the way down. Throughout, you're keeping your shoulder blade flat, back flat, and the elbow staying supported on the knee. Great little exercise for shoulder and rotator cuff stability and strength. Another great little shoulder exercise makes the shoulder work in an isometric manner, so the rotator cuff and shoulder stabilization muscles are working without moving excessively like we saw before. The form is really simple. We're going to take the elbow up to that 90-degree angle in line with the shoulder, and the movement is just a little bit of rotation through the wrist and elbow. Most of the movement is happening through the elbow, which means the shoulder is working just as a stabilizer, as a stabilizing group of muscles and stabilizing joint. Now, I like making this a little bit more challenging by including a back lunge with the movement. That's great. So we're still working the arm in the same way. Shoulder is still working to maintain that front hang position and stabilize through the wrist movements. That little bit of back lunge movement gives you a much bigger challenge as you have to work to stabilize your core and shoulder throughout. Main things you want to be looking for are that the arm is at 90 degrees, nice straight back. The rotation through the wrist is happening in sync with the back lunge. And that throughout the movement, you're maintaining the elbow at 90 degrees, ribs tucked in, and a good strong form. Perfect. Keep in mind that the rotator cuff are not the only group of muscles which stabilize the shoulder, and they're not only activated through rotation-based work. One of my favorite little drills to hit other muscles in the shoulder is called the shoulder six-way. Simple exercise seen in parts in every gym around the world, but there's a great way to combine it. I really suggest keeping the weight low, especially until you get used to it, because this one is a complete beaster. Side raise, mid, up into overhead, making sure that the ribs don't flare out. Back down, stop, open, and drop. Good, and that's one rep. Let's have a look at a few more. Main points again here, move slow. Keep your ribs tucked in, core engaged, and pick a weight which you can manage easily. After a few reps of this, you're really going to feel the burn throughout your shoulders.